Aldo from Zero to Mastery here. In today's tutorial, we're diving into styling text with CSS. Now this isn't just any tutorial, it's part of Jacinto's complete CSS Bootcamp course available on Zero to Mastery. So if you want to level up your styling skills like a professional, click the link in the top right hand corner or check out the description below for the full course. Alright, that's it from me. Let me hand it over to Jacinto. Enjoy!
Okay, so in this one, we have a CodePen project, and we're going to use it to kind of experiment a little bit with some different font styling. Okay, so let's dive in. First thing we're going to need to do is add some font. So we're going to go div.text-container, press tab. So we've created a div with the class of text container. And next, we're going to add an h1, and it's going to be for our exciting title here. Okay, and we're going to add a paragraph element, and we're going to add some lorem text. So lorem and then tab, lorem and then tab. And we're going to go ahead and add 2 more paragraphs. So paragraph, lorem, tab, and then paragraph, lorem, tab. Okay, and then one last thing we're going to add, we're going to create another div outside of this that we're going to use to make some vertical text. So I'm going to go div.vertical-text, press tab, and we're just going to put a byline by Jacinto Wong. Okay, so that's it for our content. I'm going to go ahead and open up our CSS pane here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with our text container. So we're going to target our text-container class. And the first thing we're going to change, you remember what I said about line length. So you can see that we have a lot more characters here than just our 50 to 75. So we can actually use width, our width property, and we can set a value of 50 ch, ch standing for characters. And that will automatically make our width approximately 50 characters. So that's very helpful in maintaining our readability. Okay, next, I'm going to give it a margin 0 and auto. And this is going to center our main text container there. I'm going to give it a font size of 16 pixels, which is what it actually is by default. So you'll see that nothing changed there. And I'm going to give it a line height of 1.5 EM. So EM, you can see that just shifted there. EM is referring to the font size. So in this case, I'm making it 1.5 times the font size of 16. If I had it at 1 EM, which is what it is to start, our line height is 16 pixels, and changing it to 1.5 makes it 1.5 times that. So you can see that it has spread out our lines a little bit more. And if I were to make it 2, that would be double. But that would be a little bit too far, so we're going to go ahead and stick with 1.5 EM. Next, we're going to go ahead and change our letter spacing, letter-spacing, and we're going to do a similar thing, but we're going to do 0.05 EM for our spacing here. That adds a very small amount of spacing, but you can see that it spreads it out just enough to make it a little bit easier to read. Next, for our container itself, we're going to give it a background dash color of our favorite, white smoke, just to make it stand out. And we're going to add some padding, 5 pixels top bottom, 20 pixels left right. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to use some border dash radius of, let's say, 10 pixels to round the corners nicely there. Okay, cool. So we already have something that's much easier to read. We're actually using the default Times New Roman font here. You can see that it is a serif font if you look closely enough. and it has those little ticks in between certain characters to make it a little bit easier to read. Okay, so that to me already looks a lot better for our text container, but we're going to want to style our H1 now. We don't want that classic Times New Roman font, and we're going to go ahead and change the font family to be Helvetica, comma, sans serif as a fallback. Okay, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. Okay, and our font size is going to be 2EM. So the way that EM works is it also compounds itself. So because we have our H1 inside of our text container, the text container is the parent of our H1, it is going 1EM will be 16 pixels. So 2EM is 32 pixels. And then if I did 3EM, it would be triple. And you can see that the line height doesn't really work there. It's too big. I would have to increase the line height even further. But in our case, we're just going to leave it at 2EM because I think that that fits nicely there. Next, there's a couple other cool things that we can do related to text that will make it stand out a little bit more. So we have some options for text decoration, and I'm just going to pick a few different ones here. So underline, wavy, so on a wavy underline, and we're going to make it hot pink. Okay, that's a nice little example of some text decoration here. I don't like that the G is cut off and we can't see this continuous line here. And to change that, we can actually use another property of text that can be very handy. And this is a text-transform. And we can actually force all of our text to be uppercase. So this is especially useful if you're getting data input from users and you want to make sure everyone's username is in all caps. This is a great way to do it using just CSS. Also, let's make it a little bit more of a title looking thing, and we're going to change the font style to be italic just to give it some extra emphasis. Okay, cool. So we've changed our H1 there. Let's look at our vertical text now. You can see that at the bottom here, we have our text that is decidedly not vertical. And we're going to target our vertical dash text class. And we're going to change the writing dash mode. And we're going to set it to vertical dash LR for left right. You can see that it kind of works, but it's pointing it down. So we can actually transform this. I want it to be writing up. So I'm going to use the transform property, and we're going to rotate bracket 180 DEG for degrees. And you can see that that flipped it so that now it's reading bottom to top. And then lastly, we want to put it at the top of our page here. So we're just going to go ahead and use position, absolute, and top 10 pixels. Okay, very cool. So we have an example of using our vertical text here. You can see I can even highlight it vertically. Very cool. All right, and the last thing I want to just highlight is our text alignment. So a lot of people like to use text align center, and I don't really think that it is the easiest to read. So you'll see if I use text align center, it might be good for a title in some cases, or if you have a very small amount of text. But I see it a lot, especially on mobile designs, where for paragraphs and paragraphs, it is center aligned. And to me, that doesn't look very good. To me, it's a lot harder to read because the start of this line is here, the start of this line is back here. There's an inconsistency to the start of each line, even way down here, because we only have a few words on this line. So I would recommend in general staying away from text align center unless you're using it for titles like over images or if you have a very small amount of text. But for any amount of text, even one paragraph, I think it's not really making sense to use text align center. Of course, we also have text align right. Again, I would only ever use this for a title or to line up with images or something. You can see that this is also equally difficult to read. The other option besides left aligned is justify. So again, this is what would be used in like newspapers and magazines to create columns. So if you had a lot of text and you had 5 or 6 columns in a row, this might be a good way to draw the user's eye to each column. But you can also see that in places we have like a huge gap between words. So sometimes this can be maybe a thing that makes sense, but to me, most of the time, I would say for ease of readability, that you're going to want to go ahead and stick with just text align left for big paragraphs, that is.
And there you have it, folks. A big thank you to Jacinto for guiding us through this lesson. Want to dive even deeper? Well, lucky for you, there's a whole lot more to learn in Jacinto's complete CSS Bootcamp course, linked in the top right-hand corner and in the description down below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on future tutorials from Jacinto and other expert Zero to Mastery instructors. Alright, that's it from me. Keep styling, keep coding, and I'll see you in the next one.